or silence their device. We're going to start off with a pledge of allegiance. We'll head right in. If you can please all rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going to start off with a roll call. Commissioner Darwin,
Present.
Commissioner Potter,
Present.
and the chair, Santiago, is present as well. We're going to move right from old business and table matters. Going to skip over that. This is a special meeting, public meeting of the Lawrence Licensing Board for a hearing. And we're going to start off with new business hearing for King Lobster located at 125 Hampshire Street. We got COVID-19 violations. Lieutenant Cirillo from the Lawrence PD we're going to have him read the charges in that, and then we'll proceed to representative from King Lobster. And we can get Lieutenant Cirillo, if you can unmute and read your report for the record.
Sure. Good evening, Commissioner. Good evening, Commissioners. Lieutenant Cirillo, Lawrence Police Department. I'll read from a report that I wrote on Sunday, January the 3rd, 2021 at approximately 8:20 p.m. I, Lieutenant Cirillo, along with members of the State COVID Task Force, conducted compliance checks across the city of Lawrence. At that time, we visited King Lobster, located at 125 Hampshire Street. As the members of the task force exited our vehicles, we could hear loud music coming from inside the restaurant. As we made our way to the door, we observed two patrons dancing in the middle of the restaurant. The male patron was not wearing a mask as he danced around the restaurant with his female companion, who was wearing a mask. It should be noted that in the picture, you can also see staff members looking on as the two danced in the restaurant. As we entered the club, the patrons continued to dance, and at no time was this behavior addressed by any staff or including the manager, Lopez, who was watching as they danced around the restaurant from the counter. I then spoke to the patrons to please be seated, and then I spoke to the manager, Kayla Lopez, who was the manager on duty. I advised Ms. Lopez to shut off the music and that the patrons needed to be seated and there was no dancing. I also advised her that patrons needed to be seated at all times and they needed to be wearing masks at all times, especially when moving about the restaurant. Lopez stated that this is very difficult to control patrons at all times, and she advised them to stop dancing, but they failed to listen to her request. In the corner of the restaurant, there was a group of 5 men drinking Corona beers at a table with no food present on the table. 2 of the men were standing up, not wearing masks. Investigators asked the men if they had ordered food. They stated no, just beers only. They were then asked how long they were at the restaurant and what time they arrived at the restaurant. They replied that they had been at King Lobster at around 5:20 p.m. and the current time was approximately 8:30. It should be noted that we asked the manager, Lopez, for the table's receipts, but she failed to produce one for that table. Lopez stated that the patrons had already paid, and it should be noted that this is not the first time that they have violated the guidelines. If I may just mention a few things, just so it shows that we have tried to educate these people or the owners and the managers on 11/20/20. they were cited for 2 customers that were drinking a bucket of beers without having ordered food. It was also a happy hour violation that was issued for delivering 2 or more drinks to one individual. On 12/6 of 2020, King Lobster once again was issued a verbal warning for music and the number of individuals at one of the tables. More than one, so they basically had more than 6 people at a table. They were issued another verbal warning. On 12/13/2020, King Lobster had multiple individuals on licensed premise in possession of alcohol beverages. None were observed with food. Staff members informed investigators that all patrons had ordered food, but that wasn't the case. They once again were advised of the guidelines of ordering food with alcohol beverages. On 12/22, King Lobster once again was given a verbal warning and advisory by the ABCC for COVID guidelines and not covering masks, their face with masks and moving about the restaurant. And then once more again on 12/27/2020, they were given a verbal warning advising them of the COVID guidelines and wearing face coverings as walking around the restaurant. So again, here we are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6 major incident that kind of forced me to bring it before the board on Sunday, January the 3rd, 2021.
Thank you, Lieutenant Cirillo. Do we have anybody from King Lobster here? Anybody from King Lobster? Okay.
Hi.
Not anyone from King Lobster.
Hi. Anybody hear me?
Yes. Who's
Yes,
this?
this is Jeff. It's Miguel's stepson. I was just in to just listen in. When a few of these later incidents occurred, it was to my knowledge that my stepfather was outside of the country at the time, and you know the employees were kind of at their own will, but it still doesn't justify you know this behavior. So we are aware of that. This needs to get addressed.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Nah.
Okay. And this time, Lieutenant Cirillo, what are you looking for as a result for this?
Well, again, Commissioner and Commissioners, it wasn't the first time. Unfortunately, you know, we're not in the business, obviously, of trying to put anybody out of business, and we've said that numerous times. But at this current stage, the city of Lawrence, as everybody knows, is having a really tough go with COVID. The numbers are out of control. There's several businesses that we did not allow to open because they weren't or didn't meet the criteria of being a restaurant. And again, I think the majority of the time he's probably acting as a restaurant. But again, you know, once the hour gets past 5 or 6 o'clock, he seems to begin to operate almost like a nightclub, so to speak, where people are dancing, they're drinking, and they're not ordering any food. And again, I don't think it's fair to the businesses that we have not allowed to open during this whole pandemic, that, you know, or the businesses that are really playing by the rules. So again, I think to be consistent, we brought Xavier's in. They went in on the state level by the ABCC. The ABCC handed down a 30-day suspension of license. I think that would be appropriate in this situation where we've had multiple violations. The other avenue we could go is that they would remain closed till stage 4, which God only knows when that is going to be. So I think a 30-day suspension is the way to go. If we brought this on the state level, as commissioners know, they've been suspending their license indefinitely. They did that with Spigot River, and they did that with a couple other locations. So again, I think a 30-day suspension of license would be sufficient in this situation.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant. I just want to state for the record, I'm aware of some of the infractions there. I happen to be tagging along on the task force, and I've seen it on a couple of different occasions, and it seems like every time we go in there, we do warn the owner, and it just keeps on repeating itself. So at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion for a 30-day suspension of license for King Cobra, if I can get somebody to make a motion on that.
So
Motion.
moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, roll call. Commissioner Darwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Potter,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes as well. So King Lobster representative, there'll be a 30-day suspension of your license. You have the right to an appeal. And at this time, we're going to be asking the doors be closed. Lieutenant Cirillo, could that be done tonight?
Yeah, I would say that it should be done effective immediately.
Okay. Commissioner Darwin, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest we amend the motion to say forthwith.
Okay.
Fourth.
As Lieutenant said, he can go get their license tonight. And they should also understand that, I agree with Lieutenant Cirillo. No, we don't want to shut anyone down, but we've been more than patient. This board has been consistent with one warning, and then there's usually some sort of rollback or suspension. They've had the benefit of 5 opportunities. So I think we're even being generous with a 30-day suspension. So they should know that if something happens after that, it will not be good in my point of view, because they've, by now they should know the rules by heart themselves, and they should be adhering to them. But
I agree. I think everyone in the city is aware of the rules.
I'd also like to add, kind of tag along with that. There are other similar businesses, and I'm trying to grab the attention of the gentleman that was speaking on behalf of that establishment. There are other similar businesses that have been able to abide by the rules. And somehow they've made it to date. It would not do anybody any good if we continued to be, doing exceptions with anybody. It's a rule. We didn't make it up. We're trying to enforce it. You guys are across the street from the police, and you're still, brave enough to.
Okay, I think he froze. All right, so at this time, for the record, their license is suspended for 30 days forthwith, and we are going to be moving on. Hopefully, after this 30 days, they'll come back and follow the rules like everyone has to. Everybody else in the city's doing. So we're going to be moving on. Hearing for Attica Restaurant located at 1 Mill Street regarding COVID-19 violations. Lieutenant Cirillo, I see that we have a representative from Attica Club on here.
Okay, so I was, Commissioner, just so the other commissioners are aware, I was contacted by Joel Heredia. He said that he's the owner of Attica. He stated that he was called out of the country for an emergency with his family, and he was wondering if he could reschedule. I told him, I'd have to run it by the board. I don't have a problem with the board rescheduling it, but it's at your discretion.
Okay, I'm going to actually, seeing that he is the owner and he's been very cooperative, I'm going to ask to have this tabled if we can get a motion on that, and we'll address it at the next meeting.
motion to
ask-
continue until the next meeting, or when the owner returns.
Yes, we'll keep it on the table. So we have a motion to table to the next meeting or when the owner returns. If I can get a second on that. I don't think Alfred can hear me. Okay, I'll second that. Alfred should be no problem with his phone, I guess. Alfred, are you there?
He's muted. So,
Okay, well, we have two officers here, so, all in favor?
I,
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Darwin,
yes,
and the chair votes yes as well, so we'll table this until next meeting or when the owner gets back. Moving on to hearing for Broadway Mini Mart located at 9 Broadway for selling illegal synthetic cannabinoids, AKA K2 or spice. Lieutenant Cirillo, if you can speak on that, then we'll have someone from Mini Mart representative come on. Lieutenant Cirillo.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Commissioners. On 12/2/2020, I, Lieutenant Cirillo, the Special Operations and Street Crime Unit, received information that the Broadway Mini Mart located at 9 Broadway Street was selling illegal synthetic cannabis, aka K2 or spice. It should be noted that back in 2016, this location and owner, defendant, I'm gonna butcher his last name, but Camille, were charged for selling the K2, synthetic cannabis K2. It can be very harmful to your health. The effects of it can be unpredictable, even life-threatening. Over the past several weeks, the Lawrence Police Department has received many reports of individuals who have been suffering serious health effects from using synthetic cannabis or K2. On 12/2 at approximately 7 p.m., members of the COVID-19 State Task Force, which is made up of members from the Lawrence Police Department, the Alcohol Beverage Commission, Massachusetts State Police, as well as Inspectional Service Division and the Lawrence Fire Department, conducted an undercover sting operation to see if Broadway Mini Mart was engaging in the illegal sale of K2 products from the Mini Mart. I, Lieutenant Cirillo, sent an undercover individual into Broadway Mini Mart with 2 marked $20 bills. Both bills were marked with 2 dots on the back of the $20 bill right below the 0 under the 20. The undercover individual was told to ask for Scooby Snacks, which is a specific brand of K2. The undercover walked into the Mini Mart. He asked the store clerk behind the counter, defendant Kamar, for 1 package of Scooby Snacks. The defendant reached into a plastic cabinet located on the counter and it retrieved a package of WTF, which is a different brand of K2, and handed it to the undercover individual. The defendant, Kamar, stated that it would be $25 for 1 package. The undercover handed the store clerk 2 marked $20 bills and then left the store and brought the package of WTF K2 synthetic cannabis back to Detective Sandin. Once it was confirmed by Detective Sandin that the UC had purchased the product, members of the COVID-19 State Task Force entered the location and conducted an administrative inspection at Broadway Mini Mart. It should be noted that Broadway Mini Mart does hold a retail package store license and is a Massachusetts state lottery agent. Once inside the store, we asked the store clerk if he had where the K2 was in the store. I then explained to him that he had just sold a package of WTF K2 to an undercover individual. I then advised the defendant Kamar that that 2 $20 bills, which were used to pay for the product, were marked with the 2 dots. I then asked him to open both cash drawers and I then located the $20 bills. After a check of his lottery draw and store cash draws, both $20 bills were recovered. 1 from his draw, the cash register, and 1 from the lottery draw. An administrative search of the premises revealed a total of 7 bags of WTF K2, 5 brown folded bags of synthetic cannabis, 27-gram bags of Huff Puffs, 8 3.5 grams of Bass Huff Puffs, 4 small bags of synthetic marijuana or cannabis, and 4 larger bags of synthetic cannabis. 48 bags of synthetic cannabis or K2 were seized from the store in total and were placed into evidence at the Lawrence Police Department. Also behind the counter, investigators located approximately 27 brown folded bags, which were either numbered with a 0 or a 0 or a 10. Inside the folded bags were packages of different size Newport menthol cigarettes were marked with the state of New Hampshire tobacco stamps. The sale of menthol products was banned for sale in the state of Massachusetts early in 2020. No businesses are allowed to sell these products. Additionally, 114 packages of various brands of menthol cigarettes were located behind the store counter. These packages of menthol cigarettes contained a Massachusetts tobacco stamp. Investigator DeChico from the ABCC also located an illegal gaming machine, which was operational inside the store. The illegal gaming machine would make payouts on credits that you won when you played the machine. The owner, Cabal, was called to the store and spoke to investigators DeChico and myself. The owner was very cooperative and admitted to the illegal sale of synthetic cannabis K2, the illegal sale of menthol cigarettes, and the illegal gaming violations. The owner stated his business is in bad shape and that between COVID-19 and the ban on menthol products, his business is dying and he needs to sell these illegal products to survive. Kamal also said that he is helping people out by selling the synthetic cannabis like K2. He said that basically selling this is better than them buying heroin or cocaine or any other products. The Kamal said that he is providing, I said that already with instead of investigator Chico will be handling the violations of the illegal sales of the menthol cigarettes on the state level. Investigator Chico will also be handling the illegal gaming violation and the COVID-19 violation of the employees that weren't wearing masks while working inside the store. I will be issuing a summons for criminal liability as well as criminal complaints against Kamar, as well as the owner for possession and distribution of illegal drugs. I will also be forwarding a report to the Lawrence Licensing Board for a hearing. Investigator Mike LaFrance from Inspectional Service was present, and he will be addressing some of the building code violations that were found during the administrative investigation. All the evidence I seized will be turned into the LPD for evidence and stored at the LPD. Investigator DeChico will be handling all the evidence relating to the menthol cigarettes. And that concludes the report for 12/2 of 2020.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Cirillo. Mr. Miller, are you representing Boston Broadway Mini Mart?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
It's Stephen Miller, McDermott, Quilty and Miller. Also on the line, I see them, Hitesh Kambadi, who's also with his son, Dev Kambadi. I think they just came on.
Yes, I see it.
I will mention that there's a hearing February 11th at the State Liquor Commission on issues that the lieutenant mentioned. Just Lieutenant, I have a couple of questions, just simple questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem, Attorney.
Mr. Kambati was cooperative with you and admitted to these violations, correct?
Correct.
Just so I'm clear, I know, and Mr. Kambati is going to basically make a statement and explain what happened here, but I know on the 7 bags of WTF that's K2.
Correct.
On the rest of these, I thought they were basically hemp products.
Well,
Was my-
again,
was
I
my-
sent, go ahead.
Sorry.
I sent those out to, that's right. I sent those out to the lab to distinguish what they were. But to my knowledge, he does not have any license to sell those products. I know Director Amano was on the line, but I don't think he has any license to sell any type of smoking products or hemp products in the store. So I don't think his license covers that. So even if it was not K2 or it was a product that says it's legal over the internet, I don't believe his store or his license supports that. So I believe he's operating outside of his license restrictions.
Okay, just so I was clear, because my client was under the understanding that it was the 7 bags of K2 which he wants to address, and he believes that the rest of it are hemp products. He does have the state licenses, which I did send in today for cigars, cigarettes, and smoking tobacco, but I assume there's another local license that's required on this.
Well, again, I am not aware that he can be selling any CBD products, which I know there was a couple of products that were in the store that we gave him a break on. He had edibles that were with CBD in it and stuff like that. Again, to my knowledge, he does not have a license to sell any of those products. And again, I'll defer to Commissioner Amano on that. But to my knowledge, he does not hold any licenses that allows him to sell any type of those, anything along those lines.
All right, thank you. I did send in some, as I said, we have a hearing at the ABCC on February 3rd on a lot of these issues. I would like Mr. Kambati to basically address the board and talk about what's occurred with his business and his health, and his son is with him, because Mr. Kambati, I think, as you know, Lieutenant Cirillo doesn't have the greatest command of the English language, is somewhat difficult to understand. So his son is with him. So if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
Yes, it is. His business, he's more than able to speak on his behalf. I'll allow that.
Thank you. So, Hitesh, do you want to, or Deb, however you want to start, you want to explain to this board what happened and what you've done to deal with it?
Yeah,
Yes.
my dad can go ahead and start.
Yes. Very good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board of Members, Mr. Cirillo, and Mr. Miller. Actually, I'm a part owner of Broadway Mini Mart, and like normally I do check all my ins and outs. What happened that in month of November, I was sick, and I couldn't able to come to the store on a regular basis. Some stranger like distributor has given those 10 bags as a hemp bud. My clerk received it, and actually, like I do admit that we had a CBD hemp bud, and I wasn't aware till now that I have to get the local license for selling that product. But So my clerk have received that that sample as a hamburger, and he must have sold a couple of bags, and very third bag uh, uh, actually from the police department took and seized it, and they came to the store and they seized rest of the 7 bags, which were totally got it as a samples. And second thing, I do admit that a store used to sell Newport menthol cigarettes, only two same brand with 2 different sizes. To the customers, they know, like just to like provide a service to the regular customers, never been displayed, and not for the general public either. The like Massachusetts stamped cigarettes were in the cabinet, had a not for sale sign, and we took off all those cigarettes from the display shelf and left it way away from the counter in the cabinet, and there was a not for sale sign on it, which already tax paid cigarettes, which we basically assume that we have to and return to the distributor within 6 months of time. And since COVID started, I didn't have a regular distributor who delivers me the cigarette. I used to go to the local like distributor like JJ Duffy and Company and buy cigarette for the store. So that was a new distributor for the store. So they denied to take those cigarettes back. So that was just laying in the back cabinet. The masks were, actually behind the counter, the clerk had a mask on, and the stocking person who helps the store couple of hours in the evening as a security person, like it's kind of little scary at night, especially in winter time. So, and I basically assume that the stocking person must have forgot to wear a mask. And like normally slot machine, we get the permit from the city just for the just for the entertainment purpose. And the slot machines, the company told us that you can give out the store credit if someone win the money. So if someone win the points, instead of paying out cash, you can legally give them the store credit so they can buy something on that credit. And I'm extremely actually apologize for the situation happened in my absence. I got to a COVID and a pneumonia in month of December. And my total absence created this situation. I own this business since 2013 as a part owner. And in like 2016, all the stores got raided for K2. Since then, we are not involved with that product at all. Hemp bird, yes. And I didn't know that we need to have a permit or license to sell those products, but it's legal in Massachusetts. All the distributors carry that product in Massachusetts, like general distributor for the convenience store, and it's a certified product. But till now, I never realized that I have to ask for the like local public, just like permit or license or anything. It was totally in a gray field that it's legal, it's permit require. We didn't know at all. And I'm extremely apologize to the board, to the captain, that this situation happened from my store. I feel bad as a part owner, and I promise I can give you in actually writing, never ever happen again.
So,
No.
Hitesh, a couple of things.
Yes, sir.
I did have one other question for the lieutenant, but I'll hold that for a second. But what have you done to clean things up and make sure that this doesn't happen again?
I can give like writing to this like city in front of the board member. I am very strict for my kids, my family. My kids, even I don't allow them to smoke. So like personal promise I can do that.
But in result of what's happened, he asked
Just
for my help.
identify yourself. Just identify yourself to the board, if you want.
My name's Dave Kambati. I'm his younger son. So once all of this happened, he asked for my help to, go through all the laws, the regulations, all the rules and everything. We went through that together and I helped him implement everything, make sure that our store is fully compliant. Anyone can walk in there today and they'll see that the gambling machine is shut off, put away. There's no sort of flavors. We took out the CBD products. We made sure that it was completely compliant. And also to talk about the hemp products that we had carried, there were distributors that came with papers like these. These papers contain a lab report, and it also contains a law report on it as well. And seeing papers like these, he assumed that they were legal to sell, and he went just based off the word of these distributors. And on his behalf, that he's an immigrant to his country, and he's been here for over 20 years, and he's always been law-abiding and all of that. He kind of just took the word of others, and it was a tough time for him. So he thought that this might be something to expand the business, but that wasn't the case, and which is why now he's asked for my help to help him follow these rules, regulations, and guidelines. And I'm also very apologetic that this happened, but at the same time, I can guarantee that our store it is compliant and will remain to be compliant for the future.
And one more time, I pull my ears that it's never going to happen. I am 52 years old. I built this business just for the survival. And due to COVID situation, given so much hard time, I got the PPP loan, even though I couldn't survive this year. And actually, I'm basically a diabetic person. Due to my sugar issue, I was trying to stay away from the store as much as possible. And due to that health issue, I couldn't able to focus on a day-to-day basis. So please forgive me and give me a chance so I can survive and my family can survive.
Can I just ask the lieutenant one question?
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead, Mr.
Lieutenant, since December 2nd, has the task force or you or some of your officers, has anybody gone back to the mini mart to do an investigation or an inspection?
I'd have to say I have not, to be quite honest with you.
Okay. I don't have anything further. I wanted Mr. Kambati to address the board and tell them what happened. Do a much better job than I would.
Okay, this time I'm gonna ask if any of the commissioners have any questions for either the Attorney Miller, Lieutenant Cirillo, or the Kambati family.
Yes, I have a question through you, Chair, to Mr. Kambati. since due to your health, I understand you weren't at the store to oversee things, but is that changing? Are you planning to be there, or is your son going to be there? I understand you've gone over all the rules and the laws, but who is going to be there to oversee operations?
So as of December 12th, that was when he was admitted to the hospital and he told me about all of this. I kind of took the reins from him, and I've made sure that I'm there every day, making sure everyone's wearing masks, following the rules. We also have put up signs that if no one's wearing a mask, they cannot come into the store. And our employees are implementing that if someone does walk in with a mask, you have to ask them to leave and grab a mask to come back in.
Okay, great, thank you.
Look, I actually just, one statement out of this report really stands out for me. I just want to address that. I want to make that a point. And that's right in here, in his own words, Mr. Combati said, providing people with a product that is less harmful for their health than heroin or drugs. I find that to be like a deliberate attempt to, break the law. It's against the law to sell that product, and if he thinks he's doing less harm by using this, he's mistaken. That does as much damage to the lungs as anything else does. And coming out of his mouth, I found it very disturbing, so not too keen on that part. But at this time, I just want to, Mr. Miller, if you want to address that, or
No,
I don't think you can take back those words. I mean,
No, I mean, he can address it. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, I meant that statement I meant for hemp bud.
For the
And
CBD.
that's a CBD. And it says on the wrap that it's legal, it's not harmful. And that statement was for the hemp bud.
So pretty much, on the news, he sees that CBD and stuff like that has calming effects and all of that. So by that, he saw that people were purchasing these products, and he thought that it might have meant that they were staying away from other harmful things. But with his English, and he's not that fluent in English, as we all saw, that it was kind of tough for him to explain what he was trying to say. But he mainly meant that for the CBD products.
okay.
May I jump in just 1 second? Hector?
Excuse me?
Yes. Alfred? Commissioner
Yeah, I
Plotter.
just want to make sure that you guys are hearing me. I apologize. I'm not on camera. My phone is acting up, but I would like to say, following on Lieutenant Cirillo's words from the previous case, we're not in the business of closing anybody up. But if I may suggest to someone who is just about my age, the owner of the business, going forward, if whatever's determined today that you may continue doing business, it would behoove you to try and find out before actually putting up a product, just because some salesperson is telling you it's okay to do so. We are always a phone call away, and we're here to assist you with the legal part of what you are allowed to do. So going forward, if you can, please use our venue, because it's hard for everybody. These are hard times for everybody, and we don't want to put anybody out of business, but we do have to, help the law happen. Primarily.
Absolutely, sir.
And
Agree. I agree.
Also to add in, for the past year, I've been a student at Northeastern University. So I wasn't home, I was actually dorming away. So I wasn't as accessible to him, to ask these questions, because when I was home, he'd tell me about these things, and I'd, try to help determine, or I'd reach out to the city for him, just so we can have, the proper guidelines on what to care and what not to. So I take responsibility on my part as well for being his son and not being able to reach out and not being able to communicate with him on what's going on in his business.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Miller, do you have any last statements?
No, I think they did it all. There's nothing I can really add to it, but thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you're welcome. Lieutenant Cirillo, what's your recommendation on this?
Good evening again, Chair, and members of the commission. So again, a few things are concerning to me in regard to this, and we're only handling the issue, just to be clear, of the sale of K2. Those are the charges that I'm bringing forth. The ABCC is going to handle the illegal gambling, as well as the sale of the cigarette products or the menthol products. So as far as the K2 sale, and his statement saying that, unfortunately he's been on hard times during COVID, and that, he has to do what he has to do, is very concerning to me, that he's willing to operate illegally or to cut corners. That is a serious problem to me. Secondly, this is the second time we have caught him selling K2. He knows that product is illegal. He knows it's unacceptable to sell. So that to me is another issue. Again, I would be looking for a revocation of his liquor license. I'd also be looking for revocation. I'd have to look for clarity if we could do this, of his common vic license. But I certainly would be at this time seeking his liquor license, because I don't think that at this time he can be trusted in selling alcohol products to the public. My concern is that he may cut corners and start selling to underage individuals. Again, there's been no past practice of this, but to me, what we found in his statements were very concerning.
All right, thank you. At this time, I would be inclined to agree with Lieutenant Cirillo on the alcohol, the beer and wine license. So I'm going to entertain a motion to revoke the beer and wine license at this time. If we can get that in the form of a motion.
Motion to revoke the license.
Can I get a second on that? You're muted, Katie.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, we got a second. All in favor?
No.
Aye. No. Okay, so we're gonna do a roll call. Commissioner Darwin,
No.
Commissioner Potter,
Yes,
and the chair votes.
I was unaware. It was a second violation, so most of what I said before basically goes out the window.
Okay, so at this time, we're gonna be revoking his liquor license. You're entitled to an appeal, and you can submit that through the inspectional services, Attorney Miller. And Lieutenant Cirillo, if we can have one of the officers go and remove that their license to sell alcohol on their premise for the time being.
Correct.
We can do that today. And
Yeah,
then-
and he'll need to get a hold of the distributor to get rid of that merchandise.
Yes, exactly. And he will not be allowed to sell anything forthwith. And the license will have to be surrendered to an officer upon arrival. You understand that, Mr. Miller?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the appeal would be to the state commission, not to the,
Yes,
Inspectional
exactly.
service.
You would appeal to the ABCC.
and we would request as soon as possible a statement of reasons, which the ABCC won't take any action until they receive a written statement of reasons from the city.
Yeah, we'll reach out. Our clerk is copying this down, this whole thing, and it is videotaped. And then through the inspectional services, there'll be something drafted through the inspectional services and the attorney, and that'll be forwarded to you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a good night. At this time, I'm going to entertain a scheduling of the next meeting. And for my judgment, it looks like it will be February 10th, 6 o'clock, which is the second Wednesday in February. You're gonna have a busy agenda. We have quite a few licenses for car license and for beer and wine to some establishments. So if February 10th is okay with all the commissioners, we'll schedule it for February 10th.
Okay, here.
Commissioner Donovan?
It works.
Okay, Commissioner Potter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I have one question for Director Amano. Commissioner Potter is having trouble with his email.
Hector, I
IT.
addressed it with Mike. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Disregard. So,
Thank you.
okay, so we will adjourn and we will see you on February 10th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.